Good afternoon. Uh, uh, Today, I have the great honor to introduce my translation of Osip Mandelstam with the renowned poet and one of the best and first translators of Paul Celan and other poems into English, whose work spans more than 70 years, Jerome Rothenberg. It's a great honor that you're here, and we will read together the Horseshoe Finder, which is a said epindaric fragment. And I want to say some words about this poem, in particular, that it has a subtitle, epindaric fragment, and Claire Kavanagh, in her otherwise insightful book, Mandelstam and the Modernist Creation of Tradition, rightfully compares Mandelstam's poetry with that of Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot, especially emphasizing this orgy, as she said, I would say the feast of citations and allusions which are characteristic of for Mandelstam's and poetry and for the poetry of English and American modernists, especially Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. That is correct. Although Mandelstam's poetry is usually based not on citations, but on allusions, and often with hidden keys or clues. Mandelstam said himself that citations is like a cicada, and he said that a metaphor should be a metamorphosis. The Horseshoe is Finder is a rare example of a free verse in Mandelstam's poetry, with abundant allusions to Pindar and otherwise a very successful Greek poet who was born circa 518 BC and probably died in 438 BC, and he was the best preserved, and his texts were best preserved, and the scholars of Mandelstam find allusions to his odes in Mandelstam's poem to his seventh, Nemean, third, and fourth Pythian, and the fourth Isthmian, and to sixth and ninth Olympic odes, in addition to Hesiod's Theogony, especially 915, 917, where the Muses and their mother Mnemosyne are crowned with frontlets. The golden orb is not only an allusion to the classical golden age, but rather to the Russian Pushkin age, golden age. And Nera, which you will hear, is basically an allusion to André Chenier's poem, and she is treated as a lover of Hellas. There are some other things that I will tell you in advance, that in her otherwise insightful book, Claire Kavanagh claims that juxtaposes Mandelstam's life and poetry to that of successful Pindar. She claims that this poem is about artistic failure, with which I would not agree, because in 1923, when the poem was written and published, Mandelstam was certainly a published author until 1928, where his last book of poetry came out, was officially published, and which included this poem. And also, he never doubted his artistic talents until even during exiles, first and the second exile. There are some inconsistency in her treatment also. For instance, she treats the Russian, old Russian lapta. She speaks about spheres and rectangles, disrupting those spheres, and she treats lapta, which is basically a bet, and the game is like American baseball, a folk, ancient Russian folk game, and she treats this like a sphere, but this is a bat to hit the ball. And so I will just briefly screen share this with the audience, the book itself, which is this with the picture of young Mandelstam. Centuries Encircle Me with Fire is a citation on one of his last poems, Verses on the Unknown Soldier. And the poem that we are about to read, it has been published in 2016 and received Gaba Prize, which is named after Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this is the poem. And just for the convenience, probably I will be sharing some parts that Jerry would read, and then I will read in Russian. And so we will stop sharing now in the middle, so that we see each other better. So it's a great honor to introduce Jerome Rottenberg.
The Horseshoe Finder, a Pindaric fragment. We look at a forest and say, here is timber for ships and masts, rosy pines, free of hairy burden to their very tops. They should screech in the storm as lonely pines in a raging forestless air. The plumb line fastened firmly to the dancing deck will endure the salty soul of the wind. And a seafarer, in his untamed thirst for space, drags through soggy furrows, a fragile instrument of a geometer, to weigh a rugged surface of the seas against the attraction of the terrestrial bosom. Inhaling the scent of tarry tears which exude through plating, admiring the clamped planks of bulkheads which were not riveted by a Bethlehem's peaceful carpenter, but by another, the father of seafarers, the friend of a seafarer. We say, they too stood on land, uncomfortable as a mule's backbone. Their tops were forgetting about the roots in a famous mountainous ridge, and rustling under a fresh water torrent, they offered heaven in vain to trade their noble load for a pinch of salt. Where to start? Everything cracks and sways. The air trembles with similes. No word is better than any other. The earth drones with metaphors, and light two-wheeled chariots, dazzlingly harnessed, to flocks of birds strenuously flapping their wings, fall to fragments, competing with snorting favorites of the races. Thrice blessed is he who puts a name in a song embossed with a name outlives the others. It is set apart from her girlfriends by a headband, healing from oblivion by a fuddling odor too strong to endure, whether caused by the imminence of a man or the smell of a strong beast's fur, or just by the scent of thyme grated in the palms. The air can be as dark as water, and all creatures swim in it like fish whose fins thrust the sphere, dense, pliable, slightly warmed, a crystal where wheels revolve and horses shy, a soggy black soul of Niera, each night plowed anew by pitchforks, tridents, hoes, plows. The air is needless, densely as soil. It is impossible to leave it, hard to enter. Rustle rushes through the trees like a green bat. Children play knucklebones with the vertebrae of extinct beasts. The frail chronology of our era comes to a close. I am grateful for what was given. I myself was lost, made blunders, lost count. The era was ringing like a golden orb, hollow, cast, supported by no one, responding yes or no to each touch. Thus a child answers, I'll give you an apple, or I won't give you an apple, while his face is an exact cast of his voice, which utters those words. The sound is still ringing, although its source has vanished. The steed lies in the dust and snorts, dripping with sweat, but a steep turn of the neck still keeps the memory of a thrush-legged race, not a four-hoofed race, but as many hoofs as there were cobblestones, renewed in 4 shifts, as many times as a steed foaming with heat hit the ground. Thus, the horseshoe finder blows the dust off it and polishes it with wool until it shines. Then he hangs it on his doorway, giving it rest so it won't have to strike sparks from flint. Human lips, which have nothing more to say, keep the form of the last uttered word, and a feeling of heaviness fills the hand, though the jug has been half spilled while it was carried home. What I am saying now is not spoken by me, but is dug out like grains of petrified wheat. Some stamp lions on coins, others a head. Various copper, bronze, and golden lozenges are buried in earth with equal honor. The age has tried to gnaw at them, leaving the clench of its teeth. Time cuts me like a coin, and there is not enough of myself left for myself.
Thank you so much. It was great. Now I try to read Russian and maybe briefly screen share with the audience this publication, which I mentioned. And so the Pindaric fragment, which is also in Russian, нашедший подкову, пиндарический отрывок. Глядим на лес и говорим, вот лес корабельный, мачтовый. Розовые сосны до самой верхушки свободны от мохнатой ноши. Им бы поскрипывать в бурю одинокими пиниями в разъяренном безлесном воздухе. Под соленую пятую ветра устоит отвес, пригнанный к пляшущей палубе, и мореплаватель в необузданной жажде пространства, влача через влажные рытвины хрупкий прибор геометра, слечит с притяжением земного лона шероховатую поверхность морей, а вдыхая запах смолистых слез, проступивших сквозь обшивку корабля, любуясь на доски, заклепанные, слаженные в переборке, не вифлеемским мирным плотником, а другим, отцом путешествий, другом морехода, говорим, и они стояли на земле, неудобные, как хребет осла, забывая верхушками о корнях, на знаменитом горном кряже, и шумели под пресным ливнем, безуспешно предлагая небу выменять на щепотку соли свой благородный груз. С чего начать? Все трещит и качается, воздух дрожит от сравнений, ни одно слово не лучше другого. Земля гудит метафорой, и легкие двуколки броской упряжи густых от натуги птичьих стай разрываются на части, соперничая с храпящими любимцами ристалищ. Трижды блажен, кто введет в песнь имя, украшенное названием песнь, дольше живет среди других. Она отмечена среди подруг повязкой на лбу, исцеляющая от беспамятства, слишком сильного одуряющего запаха, будь то близость мужчины или запах шерсти сильного зверя, или просто дух чабра, растертого между ладоней. Воздух бывает темным, как вода, и все живое в нем плавает, как рыба, плавниками расталкивая сферу, плотную, упругую, чуть нагретую, хрусталь, в котором движутся колеса и шарахаются лошади. Влажный чернозем Ниеры, каждую ночь распаханы заново, вилами, трезубцами, мотыгами, лугами. Воздух замешан так же густо, как земля. Из него нельзя выйти, в него трудно войти. Шорох пробегает по деревьям зеленой лаптой. Дети играют в бабки позвонками умерших животных. Хрупкое летоисчисление нашей эры подходит к концу. Спасибо за то, что было. Я сам ошибся. Я сбился, запутался в счете. Эра звенела, как шар золотой, полая, летая, никем не поддерживаемая. На всякое прикосновение отвечала «да» и «нет». Так ребенок отвечает: «Я дам тебе яблоко» или «я не дам тебе яблоко». И лицо его точный слепок с голоса, который произносит эти слова. Звук еще звенит, хотя причина звука исчезла. Конь лежит в пыли и храпит в мыле, но крутой поворот его шеи еще сохраняет воспоминания о беге с разбросанными ногами, когда их было не 4, а по числу камней. Дороги обновляемых 4 смены, по числу отталкиваний от земли, пышущего жаром иноходца. Так, нашедший подкову, сдувает с нее пыль и растирает ее шерстью, пока она не заблестит. И тогда он вешает ее на пороге, чтобы она отдохнула, и дольше уж ей не придется высекать искры из кремня. Человеческие губы, которым больше нечего сказать, сохраняют форму последнего сказанного слова, и в руке остается ощущение тяжести, хотя кувшин наполовину расплескался, пока его несли домой. То, что я сейчас говорю, говорю не я, а вырыто из земли, подобно зернам окаменелой пшеницы. Одни на монетах изображают льва, другие — голову. Разнообразные медные, золотые и бронзовые лепешки с одинаковой почестью лежат в земле. Век, пробуя их перегрызть, оттиснул на них свои зубы. Время срезает меня, как монету, и мне уж не хватает меня самого. So we did a bilingual reading today with esteemed poet and translator, Jerome Rottenberg.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It was nice. I will stop recording